Hi, and welcome to another episode of From Mammal to Channel. What a blast! I enjoy this so much. So, I've been thinking about the last episode where I did the work on one of my issues. And I thought that one could come to the conclusion that, or gain the impression that I became aware of negative thoughts or thoughts that cause negative feelings. And then I just said, oh, that's ego. Let's get rid of that, put it away, or suppress it or something. And that's, of course, not the case. By the way, if you hear background noises like crunching and stuff, that is my dogs having dinner. And well, yeah, that's of course not the case. Not at all. That's the opposite of what the work does. We don't suppress anything. We don't just dismiss thoughts. Yeah, maybe it looked a little like that. Or maybe you didn't have the impression and ignore this. But, because first I just reproduced that work it was something from my past. I'd already been through that, so everything was quite clear to me. And then I'm also so trained, practiced in recognizing what is ego, what is my true self, and that it goes really that quick and easy for me. And it can be like that for you as well, by the way. It will be like that. And so I thought I just want to maybe talk a little about what is that, ego, and why do we say this is ego and this is our true self, and why do we make this distinction, and how, and why do we dismiss the ego stuff and everything. And I'm going to again use that example from my past, this whole letting go of the chemistry world and my chemistry career, because that's a good one. That's a practical, good example. So, even before my miscarriage, I was aware. My miscarriage, that, if you haven't seen the other episode, was the turning point for me. That was the point where I said, okay, something has to change, and I'm going to radically follow my heart from this point on forward. And so even before that happened, I was already aware that the chemistry is not my passion, and it's not bringing me happiness. And I already kept saying to people that after I finished my PhD, I'm going to do something different. But that was more a vague, not at all something concrete. No specific plans. It was just that underlying feeling, that knowing that was like that. So when I reached that point in my life, and even also what came together with that was that feeling of this cannot be all there is, that life. That cannot be true. It cannot be true that we go through life doing some job that doesn't bring us happiness, and we do that. We spend our days with people, our colleagues, the most time of our waking hours with these people, and we come home and are tired and go to bed and then start over again, and we do this until we are old, and then we are finally released into freedom and can do whatever we want. Now that felt so wrong to me, so I already had that underlying feeling and longing to understand something deeper, to find some more meaning to life. And yeah, so when I came to the point when I said, okay, from this point on forward, I gonna follow my heart, and I will never ever do something where my heart is not in. And yeah, that was important. because I was already feeling the difference between what makes me happy and what not. For some of you, that might be super obvious. Like, how would you not feel what makes you happy? But there are people who are just so caught into the mammal routine, I want to call it, so used to suffering that they don't even have that awareness. They're not even at that place where they say, okay, this is bad and this is good. This feels like happy, that feels unhappy, because unhappy is the normal thing, and everything is has this unhappiness about it. So they often have the belief that life is hard. Life is supposed to be hard. Work is hard, and wishes don't become true. So don't even start wishing or dreaming. And yeah. So if you're watching this, you're probably past that point. If you would be still in that thing, it wouldn't make much sense to watch this. And for people, we know all have these people in our lives, and we know people who are like that in the mammal state, and that's completely fine. That's perfect. They are on their way. They are having their own experiences. When I look on my own story, I needed that amount of suffering to come to that point where I said, no, until here and not any further. And I needed that. I needed that development, and I needed these experiences. And that's true for everyone. And my story was just perfect. Your story is perfect. And the story of anyone else is perfect. And Spirit always says that it's only us who judge things as good and bad and right and wrong and so on. In reality, all the experiences are endlessly precious to our consciousness and to the consciousness of all there is. It's just us who judge, oh, that was a bad life, or he lived or she lived their life without any sense and not without finding their true purpose, or whatever we say about ourselves or others, judging the quality of our lives. And Spirit says, no, all experiences, all without exception, are precious. But for our sake, choose joy. They say, when they talk to me, they say like, but for your sake, choose joy. So not for Spirit's sake, for our sake. And that's so true, that's absolutely so true. So coming back to being at the point where you become aware of what brings you happiness, what feels good. I just had to pause the video because my husband was calling. I'm recording with my phone and my husband was calling. That is probably unprofessional. But could you hear how I pronounced good in a strange way? It was a mixture of God and good, so maybe that was no coincidence. What feels like God, however you define that. And so when you're in that state, where you're already able to feel the difference and to have clarity, maybe not even have the clarity what specific things bring you joy, but if you are able to feel the difference, that's perfect. And so everything that feels like, that you would say feels like being happy, being joyful, feels like warm in your heart, like freedom or excitement or whatever. Let's say just positive feeling. Not saying that the other feelings that we say are negative feelings are really something bad or something that should not be there. Not at all. As we talked about in the other episode, they are really valuable to become closer to your true self, these negative feelings. So all these positive feelings, they are in alignment with your true self and your heart and your whole being, your soul, however you want to call it. Yeah, that's why they feel so good, okay? And everything else, everything that brings you away from that feeling, that even slightly brings you a feeling of disappointment, frustration, sadness, anger, whatever, these things are not in alignment with your soul and your heart. And these are the things that we say are coming from ego, okay? And so coming back to my example, it was already very clear for me. I was very aware how I felt whenever I had to deal with chemistry stuff. And it was very clear to me that that is not what I came here to experience. Of course, I came here to experience that on my journey to come to this point here, but I felt like that is not my calling, that is not my purpose, that is not in alignment with my soul, and it doesn't bring me happiness. It was very clear to me. And on the other side, all of that here, all of my spiritual self, my woo self, all these things, they just gave me the best time and the best feeling. It was like, looking at my face, you can tell I'm smiling, my eyes shine, and that's like how I feel internally. And that was like that from the beginning. I felt such an excitement about these things, I felt so attracted to that, and everything felt like it was pure fascination. And I felt like, and whenever I allowed myself to dream about me doing this, allowing myself to just be that, and maybe imagining doing something like this here, it was just so exciting. It was the best. I felt like a little child on before Christmas, and so that's why I could tell, okay, I want more of that in my life. This is what I want. This is clearly what is in alignment with my soul. And everything else, whenever I found myself in that energy and I'm feeling like that feels heavy and like a burden, and I feel like caged in, and that was just because I did not allow that other side. And that was, ego did its job in offering things, thoughts, and that thoughts that seem completely reasonable until you question them, until you look at them from a place coming really from your heart. And then you realize, oh no, that's complete nonsense. That's not mine. So if my ego told me, that was this chemistry career thing, that was something solid and something well respected in society, and so on and so on. Yeah, sounds reasonable, sounds true. But that gave me such a bad feeling, because that already automatically meant, or I was telling myself these things to suppress that other side, to not allow me that. And this is not at all about chemistry being something not woo and this thing being something woo, not at all. It could also be the other way around. I could have maybe grown up with super spiritual parents and be like that all the time, and then I would have found myself finding interest in chemistry, and then my ego would say, oh no, you cannot do that, and blah, blah, blah. So it's not at all about that thing. If chemistry would be my passion, I would be completely the different, the other way around, right? Then I would feel like so excited and everything about chemistry, and I would be so curious to learn more, understand more, and do more, and be in the lab and doing experiments and all that stuff, and that would give me like this glowing but it's not. So I'm just saying, if your passion is something that is not being actually a professional channel or something spiritual, that's perfect. It's just about finding this equal thing that brings you the equal amount of joy. That could be anything, really, anything. Anything. Yeah, that was my dog Bobby showing his excitement about observing cars and people walking by. And so, okay, let's come back to ego. I wanted to call this episode The Tricky Ego. Not sure if I'm going to do that. But the topic ego, that's so big. So if I call it like that, that will be part one, because there will for sure be many more episodes about that. Yeah, and the journey from mammal to channel is basically just about that. About becoming aware and becoming conscious of what is going on in here, and therefore in here, and to become clear when we are really following our hearts and when we are blindly forgot the word following ego's orders. And again, I want to say ego is not our enemy, not at all. It's just a thing that's there. It's just part of this human experience on earth, on the soul level. And you can experience that when you are like deeply in meditation or when you're channeling. There's just love. There's really just love. Everything is just good and perfect. And so we come here to experience that extreme of having these dualities of experience, that contrast of love and the absence of love, of self-love and the lack of self-love, of peace and war and all these things. So ego is just providing this for us, and we learn so much about ourselves through that. As I always say, ego is just showing us what we are not. And that's really a brilliant way of, and a really effective way of learning things and getting to know ourselves truly, from learning what we are not, from learning from the opposite. And so ego is just doing its job. It's just playing its game, and it's up to us if we join in that game, if we play that game with ego, or if we just step out of it and say, oh, no, okay, no thanks, I'm good. And it's not that you reach a point where you destroy ego completely, something like that. No, it's, it's something that is just there, and you can decide if you want to buy into it or not. Now it's, for example, when I look at me, I'm seeing me here on my screen, I developed a habit. I want to put it like that because it's nothing magical. It's nothing. No. It's just something, just a habit. So when I look at me with through eyes of love. So I look at me and I can tell myself that I'm beautiful. And I was not able to do that just a few years ago, because I was used to criticize myself. And many people, or most people, are like that. And it's just a habit to do that. It's just a habit because we didn't learn better. And it's up to us to decide to create a new habit. And what I said about ego, it's simply always there. I just don't believe it anymore. It's just so clear to me that it's completely ridiculous what it has to say, because I'm so clear on who and what I am, that if an ego comes along and offers all these crazy things about what I'm not, it's so obvious and clear to me that I'm not that. You know what I mean? And that's just practice. You can get there as well. And so I could actually, in this moment, I could ask ego about my appearance, what it has to say. And then it has ideas, of course. Like, your nose is too big, and there are different, here I seem to be more red, and here like whiter, that looks crazy, and whatnot, But it's just like ridiculous. Why would I do that to myself? Why? And If you are still at a place where you are so used to believing ego, and you're so used to not being in here, not making your heart your best guide, and to not be connected with your truth, and not being completely centered within, and not having self-love for yourself, then you're probably at a place where you quite dependent on other people, and you make it very important probably what other people are saying about you, thinking about you. And the crazy thing, I was there. Absolutely, I was there. Absolutely, I know what I'm talking about. I was like, I could have like I was like I had a really short conversation. Let's say I'm with the secretary from university, and it was really a short interaction, like just giving something to her, and she said something back, and I say something, and then I would really think like a whole week about that conversation. What did I say, and how did I say it, and why did I say it like that, and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, and the crazy thing is, and here comes tricky ego, that ego tells you that you know exactly what these people are saying and thinking about you, but in reality you have no idea. You cannot know that. You cannot know that. But the things that you think these other people are saying or thinking are actually beliefs you hold about yourself, you know? And ego puts it in a way that just projects it on other people. If you start having a more loving relationship with yourself, if you're allowing more self-love, you will see how that naturally just decreases and decreases until it's not existent anymore. Until you love yourself so much that you would not get the idea of limiting yourself in a way because of what other people might say about you and think about you, because allowing yourself to be your truest self, always to express that, is just it's the best thing you can do. It's the most meaningful thing you can do with your life, and you see how meaningful that sounds. And you actually, when you're at a place, you feel that as well. You feel that, and that's why it becomes impossible to go on with that habit of these thoughts of, oh, what do other people say about me? What will they think? How will they judge me? And you also stop judging others. That just happens. And oh man, I have so many thoughts in here that I wanted to share with you. About that. Just also want to say, because I had the conversation with two people today and yesterday, two different people, about self-love and finding it. It's not something that you have to chase, or that you have to go out there and get it and learn it for years, and it's difficult, and it's a struggle. And no, of course not. Because how do we know it's not true? Because it feels stressful to think that, and then you already automatically know it's not true. All right, so what is true? And the truth is that you are love. That is your most natural state of being. Okay, deep down here, that's what you are. Okay, so finding self-love is actually just allowing that part to be there, to remove some ego ideas and stories that tell you otherwise, that seem to keep you away from that. So it's just going within and allowing that to express your most natural thing. And it's really easy, and it can be like that. Yeah, but of course ego is telling you something else. Now, I think I'm really going to record another episode that is purely about ego's tricks. So let's call that, I don't know, maybe something about self-love. And so, to summarize it, what I wanted to clarify is that what you saw in the other episode in the work, then I realized I think the original statement was that that person doesn't support my true self, I think. And so the turnaround was I don't support that. And then I immediately understood that it was purely coming from ego. All these things, all that part that would not support my true self, that would tell me, oh, what have you done? And why did you quit that completely? Why haven't you finished at least the PhD? Then you would have something. And again, that sounds logic from here, like, that's maybe a good point. But it feels like completely stressful and not good. So because I'm so used to doing that and practice with that, I immediately internally look for what's the truth here. So this is not true for me. What is the truth? And I'm just seeking to get into that state of resonance, of alignment with my heart, with my higher self. Okay, and the truth is that was an act of pure self-love to quit that the PhD and to let that go, to free myself and that, and to not follow these ideas, and that to give me that freedom. Yes. And when I tune into that, yes, I'm really proud of myself because of that. And it's actually, this famous quote, I think, from Buddha, be the change you want to see in the world. And when I look at that, that's my truth. I've been, and I am, the change that I want to see in the world. I want to see everyone following their passion and their heart and letting go of things that are not in alignment with their heart. And imagine how this world would look like if every single person would just follow their passion and allow themselves to do what makes them happy. And so yeah. So in the beginning, that might be a little more, you might need to focus a little bit more to really get that and to feel into the difference of how things from ego feel, how things that are in alignment with you feel. But I guarantee you, faster than you would think, you will find yourself at a place where it's completely natural and it's clear to you, and it's like really quick. And you will become aware of more and more and more things in your life that where you feel you can give yourself more freedom. And let me just pause again. Okay. So 2 more things. Because I know people in my life who have realized that they want more self-love and they might be in a little lack of self-love, and they just are overwhelmed by that and don't know how, because ego is telling them, it's complicated, it can't be easy, it will take a lot of time, and I have to study things and research whatever. That's not true. So again, adopt that inner knowing that it's your natural state of being. It's just that relaxing more into that, becoming more aware whenever negative feelings come up, doing the work with that, questioning that, knowing, becoming to get to know yourself better and better, that automatically, that is another word, another way to say develop more self-love, okay? That's the process. And I have 2 more exercises for you that just help you to express the self-love that is already there, okay? One is, whenever you see yourself in the mirror or simply in any kind of reflection in a window or on a photo, on your phone, make it a habit to say yourself that you love yourself. Just say, I love you. And if you want to get a little bit further, say, I love you unconditionally. Because that's the truth. And that's why we came here, to be unconditional love, to live that, and say that to you. And if that's a little too much, because I talked to somebody who said, I can't say that, don't force yourself. If it's just a little unusual and you feel maybe a little silly, go with it. Keep saying it, even if it feels a little strange and silly. Just keep saying it. You will quickly come to the point where it feels completely normal, okay? But if it's really a huge resistance to that, don't force yourself through that, okay? We are looking for things that make us feel more alive and more free, okay? So don't use that against you, so to say. Just step back a little and see if you can find a milder expression that feels like something you can do. Maybe just say, I like you, or maybe give yourself a compliment, or maybe just smile without putting words to it. Just give yourself a little smile, or maybe just do like this, or like this, or hold yourself, or put your hands on your heart and feel like that brief connection. Do something that feels positive and good and warm and heart opening in that moment. Whenever you see your own reflection, okay, whenever you see that, make it really a habit. The more often, the better. Really, that maybe sounds really basic and too easy, but it will make a huge difference. I guarantee you that. If you stick to it, if you really do it radically, whenever you see yourself, you can of course just say it in your mind. It's always better to say it out loud because it's more powerful. But of course, if you're somewhere where you feel like people would find it strange, just say it in your mind, okay? And the second thing, I forgot what was the second. Wait. Oh yeah, I remembered it. Think about what excited you when you were a child. What brought you joy? What did you really enjoy doing as a child? Okay, that was my husband coming home. It's really a messy episode. And you know, my former me, a few years ago, would not have allowed this. I would have deleted this. But now I just enjoy it. Yeah, think about that and feel about into these things that you enjoyed as a child, because these are the things that are in here, that are in alignment with your heart. It's still there. Connect with your inner child. Do things maybe, or just think about it and feel into that energy and this childlike energy, and allow yourself from time to time, no, actually several times a day, to just be that, connect with that, maybe really do these things that you enjoyed doing as a child, because that's the perfect energy, really. That's what connects you to your true self, and therefore with love, self-love. Okay, now that's really it for now. There are, of course, a lot of other things to say. One quick general tip is to simply treat yourself like your best friend or sister, brother, a loved one in your life, because we have a tendency to be much harder on ourselves in a way that we would never act with another person, especially not with our loved ones. So when you find yourself, when you become aware that you are again criticizing yourself, blaming yourself, not treating yourself in a nice way, just think about, in that situation, what would you tell that loved person, and apply that to yourself. Okay, so now that's really it. Bye.